Joining us now for analysis on this issue and the future of U.S.-Israeli relations is David Rubin, the former mayor of Shiloh, Israel, which is in the region that many people know as the West Bank. He's also the author of the new book titled Trump and the Jews, which looks into the relations between the two countries over the past 4 years. So, David, you're a perfect person to have on right now because over the past couple of days, we've seen some escalations in the Middle East. Iran has been escalating its nuclear program, and now they're pointing the finger at Israel regarding a recent assassination attempt. But in the big picture, what does this say about the state of affairs in the Middle East right now?
Okay, well, first of all, we have to understand that the situation in the Middle East is heating up very rapidly. And a lot of it has to do with the American elections. You have a new president in the United States, perhaps very soon, Joe Biden. And he has made it very clear that he wants back into that Iran nuclear deal, which was a disaster from the beginning. Israel was against it. And I should point out that President Trump pulled the United States out of that deal. Joe Biden wants to get it back into that nuclear deal. A nuclear deal that does not stop the Iranian nuclear program in any way. And across the political spectrum, all Israelis are against that nuclear deal. Saudi Arabia is against it, Bahrain, the United Arab Emirates, and many other countries in the Middle East.
And I think that the two different approaches can be summed up in the sense that, for example, the Obama administration, involving Joe Biden, of course, was looking to appease countries such as Iran or such as the Palestinian Authority, making concessions to them in the hopes of achieving peace, where it seems like the approach by the Trump administration was to reach out to other actors in that region who are willing to make some compromises, willing to at least make some steps towards peace in the Middle East through either economic programs or at least increasing diplomacy. Would you say that's the right way to contrast those two approaches?
That is exactly correct. That appeasement never works. And one thing that we learned in Israel is that when you try to give to people who don't want to receive and people who don't want to give back, you are not going to get any sort of agreement, any sort of peace. So with the Palestinians in particular, we learned very quickly that they do not really want peace with us. They want to have a path in order to destroy us. So we've learned that appeasement does not work. Now, what Biden is doing, or what Biden wants to do, and what Kamala Harris has already made it clear that they want to do, is to appease the Iranians, to make nice to the Iranians, to make nice to the Ayatollah. And hopefully, as a result of that, they will want to make peace. Well, that's what they already tried to do. As you pointed out, Biden was very involved in crafting that nuclear deal, along with John Kerry. And that nuclear deal did not stop them from doing anything in a big part of their research facilities. They have underground nuclear research facilities that nobody is allowed to check according to that nuclear deal. They are enriching uranium 12 times the amount of what they are allowed to do according to that nuclear deal. So the nuclear deal is irrelevant. It gave them billions of dollars, and Biden was pivotal in that. Yeah. And now the question is, where do we go from here? Well, Israel is going to have to take responsibility unto itself, along with Saudi Arabia and other players in the Middle East, and hopefully we'll be able to stop them.
And building on that point, I feel like when you do try to appease someone like Iran, for example, or Hamas or the PLO, some of these organizations who are known as the leaders in those countries or those territories as well, the problem with that is that they're not always looking out for the interests of their people. The Iranian people have very different interests, for example, than those who are leading the government. It's the same thing as I'm sure in your region as well. I mean, you're right on the West Bank, but same thing in Gaza as well. Sometimes the PLO or the Hamas aren't looking out for the people there, but instead trying to continue the political stronghold that they have. So do you fear that if the United States returns back to this policy of appeasement, that Israel will be left alone in the Middle East regarding its own protection?
Well, look, anyone who knows what the Bible talks about. And, we Jews know about the Bible because that's our history. And we know that we are the nation that stands alone. And, we don't like to stand alone. We like to have friends. We like to have allies. But we understand that when push comes to shove, we may have to stand alone. We may have to go it alone. Fortunately, now we have a few allies in the Middle East because President Trump did such a good job of brokering those deals. And there are countries that are more concerned about Iran than we are, and we're working together with them. And I think one message from Netanyahu's lightning meeting in Saudi Arabia a few days ago was that it's a message from Saudi Arabia and Israel to Biden that if he doesn't recognize that Iran is an evil force in the Middle East that has to be confronted, then we may go it alone. And I think that there could be no more important message on the foreign policy front right now for Joe Biden.
And anybody who knows Israel's history knows why they have to take that approach. I mean, if you look all the way back to 1965, there was quite literally an existential crisis faced in front of Israel by some of these other Arab countries. So I think that the mentality that Israel has is very much so founded in fact, the realization that there are countries in the Middle East that just don't want Israel to exist. So I think that is exactly how Israel views a lot of these conflicts. But I think it's something that Americans here should also take into mind, too, when they're looking at the diplomacy between those countries. But David Rubin, I really appreciate you coming on the program tonight. Once again, for our viewers, the book is Trump and the Jews. It looks at the past 4 years regarding the U.S. and Israeli relations. But David Rubin, once again, I really appreciate you coming on the program. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Alex. It was good to be with you.